I just want to get right into it. So go ahead and start counting them down.
And 3, 2, 1, go.
All right. And we are off. As you can see, we always seem to start off like everybody seems to start off at different times, but it's all good as we're seeing Soda immediately come in here. Now, honestly, I didn't think we were going to get a face reveal ever, right? I feel like I'm one of the only people in the community who has seen this man's face. So getting to see this is awesome. You guys don't even understand. But
This is a
we're
fantastic opportunity. I hope we'll also get a nice cameo from his window at some point,
we need
but
it.
it is amazing
Wow,
to
both
see
of
this
them
for
with
the
a
first time.
32. Can we talk about with both of them with a 32 going for the harder route? I man, you guys are gonna see some top level gameplay here. I don't know how I'm gonna have to be watching this like I'm gonna have to be watching this cross-eyed just to see what's going on.
Indeed, these two are absolutely neck and neck here at the moment, and that 32 is nothing to scoff at because that is a harder route. You would not believe how many times a run dies because that route is just so difficult to do that it's all too common to just fall into the void.
I'll tell you, couldn't be me. There's no clips to prove it. Could not be me. But, we are going into one of the levels that do trip up a lot of runners during this race. It's tripped me up, it's tripped Soda up, it's tripped Spyro up, it's tripped everybody up. This is in a race environment, this is one of the harder skips to hit. And honestly, trying to find a hostage in the dark, coming through, you might get glitched into hostages, right? Soda almost falling there. That's insane. We're gonna see Spyro pick up a 2-second lead as we're coming through, but honestly, both of them executing that perfectly.
And they side by side get into that elevator in sync with Soda just a little bit behind time wise, but to such a degree that we might as well keep it stated as a tie.
Definitely. Honestly, for everyone who's watching this at home, you're not going to see us move that unless there's a dramatic change. Just because both of the levels of these runners have us being like, yeah, they can be a little bit behind, but honestly, it's we don't want to keep changing it because it will change faces, you know, all the time. So
Absolutely. I think the only time we're going to see this lead change from a tie to one of them being in the lead is on a death. Because
definitely.
these guys absolutely have this locked in terms of their execution. It's going to take something catastrophic to change that lead, at least until we get into the second half of this race.
Wow, if we're talking about good banks, good bombs all around, that was just perfect. I will say that, for a race environment, we're not talking about these in just normal runs. Like, man, it's just crazy to see just the performance output of both of these runners. You may say like, oh, this is only the first couple levels. It's like, yeah, these are the first couple levels and they're already performing better than a lot of our runners in these levels.
A lot of
Ooh,
times
nice hit.
you would not believe how many times PB attempts just die in these first few levels because of some, you know, ineffective movement or just a random death or something like that. So, even in race environments, this performance is absolutely stunning.
We get both of them sticking to the wall here. Honestly, it only affects their time by maybe a couple seconds, so I wouldn't put that off. Soda falling a little bit behind here just from, as we were just talking about, a little bit of poor movement. But the just because we're saying poor movement does not mean that they're moving bad at all. It just means comparatively that they're moving a little worse than they would normally. We're gonna see as the first ones come up, and that was so close to
That
being a
was
two
scary.
cycle. We're gonna
That's
see both of them come in here, and there we go.
There it is. Good. I was about to say, I think the kindness of Jonah was going to set the stage of who was going to be ahead, but it looks like we're still pretty much tied up with
I will
Soda
say
just a little
Spyron
bit
has
behind.
taken I will say Spyron has taken about a 5-second lead. We can't really put off the fact that they did start at different times. Also, you are going to be seeing a different route here from them. So, it's that optimal movement that we were talking about. It's, every runner plays these levels just a little bit differently, and you really have to just, tune in and see exactly what movements they're doing. How quick are they? Because that's really where you're going to see the messes up. You're not going to see that many messes up on these skips. You're going to see them mess up on movement.
Indeed, especially with these police chase levels, they're they're pretty much linear for sure, but there's so many different ways that you can tackle that path to the end. And these guys are just showing some of the most optimal ways that you can do that. And speaking of optimization, both of our runners well versed in the idea of zipping on those overhangs to save just that little bit of time that they both need to save if they're going to one up each other. Ooh, Spyron getting a
I
little
was
bit
about to say.
close on that one.
I was about to say, people may look at this and think it's easy, but with these PlayStation, ooh, and Soda missing a zip. He told me he could zip early there at one point, but he should have zipped a little bit later, not taking his own advice. But you will see these little micro movements, micro zips, right? And it's just ooh, as Spyron falls down a little bit, but he can recover with that momentum as you see him do it. Wow, these runners are actually getting, the good RNG swings right here. So
In
it's so nice.
Absolutely. It's hard to overstate just how finicky the swinging is in Spider-Man, especially here on PlayStation with the input lag, because, where you swing is not really where you're facing sometimes.
Yep.
So it can really get messed up. And these guys are just such pros at the game that they are more or less immediately in tune with how Spider-Man's gonna swing. And I say that, but Soda's getting a little bit low on that one.
I will
But
say the
Byron,
L1 saved him there, to flip his camera as we see Spyron go into Flying Spider. Sorry about that for cutting you off.
no, no, absolutely. That was a little bit scary. Spyron getting a really
Ooh.
good setup on that, immediately getting into the spider fly position, clearing the block on the crane.
So no
Now
time
looks like
save for Soda, but we're gonna see him go straight into the Spider Fly. That's beautiful, beautiful movement right there.
incredible stuff. So these guys still basically neck and neck, just a few seconds apart. As we get closer to the end, that few seconds difference is gonna really come down to who's gonna be in the lead that you'll see on the screen. But for now, it's really too soon to say who's effectively in the lead.
I will say this, those are some beautiful swings from both players right now. The momentum is working out in their favor. If you don't know, that's why we swing cancel is to keep momentum. So just being able to, and it's complete RNG whether we get it or not, but to be able to have that momentum going into this is really going to propel them forward. As we see Soda just get into Rhino at 726 while Spyron is sitting here with the dub probably. Oh, bad Rhino as commentator Kurt strikes again. Honestly, it's not too bad. You're gonna get the blowback here, but Chuck, if you want to explain what this strategy is, I'm more than happy as Soda goes for the combo.
So the idea here is we have two different philosophies of how best to deal with Rhino. Spyron, as you can see on the right, uh, brings himself as close to Rhino as possible, effectively getting inside his character model and web doming, whereas Soda, though he's defaulted to that route in the end, you can also do a punch or a kick punch combo with web gloves to effectively do the same thing until Rhino breaks that combo.
Right. And really, this is one of those levels too. This is Chase Venom, right? So it's really one of those things of you're supposed to be racing Venom, but most of the time you're going to see us ahead of Venom, kind of pushing his spawns forward. Both of them have different routes that they normally take for this, but we've seen that's just swinging low and optimal is really the best place for him because you can lose Venom here if you're too quick. So
Absolutely. It looks like Spyron gets stuck on a couple buildings on his way over, but he's still well ahead of Venom, so much so that he has to wait for him. But that is going to give Sotolier a little bit of time to catch up, closing that gap ever so slightly.
right, and, the reason we have to run to these specific places is we have, triggers that Venom has to hit. Oh, and Soda's going for early Venom. Let's see if he slowed down
Ooh,
enough and hit the right triggers, and there we go. If he wouldn't have hit the triggers, this is what I was just explaining, you would have seen 2 Venoms here. So, another Venom would spawn inside the building while one waits outside. So
and the problem with that is that the Venom that waits outside is the one where that your chase gauge is locked to. So if Venom
right.
is going to stay there, you cannot progress the level. You are effectively soft locked, and you have to restart the level if you want to progress.
Now, as we're nearing the end here, there is a strat to get well out in front of Venom here and beat him to the last load zone. But if you're a little too quick on it, then if you want to go watch some highlights of that, I recommend watching Soda's last race that he did. That wasn't against me, the one before, where he lost Venom on these. You can be too quick for Venom, even in the cutscene. So you got to be careful around here. But we're going to see Spyron wait for a second to see Venom move. and then gets a really clean Venom as Soda does the same thing. That's perfect.
Amazing stuff. And we're going to go into our first Venom fight. This could be another one where RNG affects the placement of our racers. Not too bad, but just enough to maybe give Soda the time he needs to catch up and even out this race, even more than it
Definitely.
already is.
And something we haven't talked about yet is the web cartridge situation. I will say from Spyron getting a farther dome, then he is low on webs. I don't think it'll come into effect depending on the RNG of Subway, which we will get there whenever we get there, right? We'll explain it once we get there, but he opts to pick up the extra cartridge. So does Soda. Soda had a little bit better spawns than Spyron, so he is now caught up.
Right. I believe 4 or 5 cartridges is about where you want to be at the end of the Venom fight, all things considered. That's fairly good web
Definitely.
cartridge management. You'll end up saving a lot more webbing if you go with the kick punch combo with Rhino, but that's just strategy at that point. Whether you're
Right.
going to sacrifice speed for
Ooh.
security.
Spyron going for low pipes here. He knows he has to do that against Soda because Soda is really good at doing that. We get good low pipes from Spyron as Soda gets perfect and as now, honestly, is only about 5 seconds behind again. So, so the little lag from our audio here. We have a little bit of cutting out audio here. Sorry about that, folks.
Oh.
But sewer entrance looking great as Spyron and Soda both mess up the camera coming into this. Soda has caught up though. I can't believe that Soda is about 5 seconds off, about 4 to 5. It is
Right.
crazy. It's gonna come down to God pipes, and I honestly can't wait to see what both runners have in store for Subway. But also, if anyone knows me, they know I take this level. I think that this level is a make or break level right here. So
Absolutely. I'll let you take the lead on this one because this one is your baby.
it is my baby indeed. We get some perfect swings from Spyron as he's a little bit low, has to stick on. Soda and Spyron both saving themselves here on the last pipe. I honestly think that that's a good idea. It's better than dying because dying does reset you here. So I will say that yes, the runners do look in sync, as chat's pointing out. I will say that it's Soda did start a little bit early, but yeah, no, it's insane. I will say God Pipes is great, and then we both have a chance here. Both of them know how to do a super train, and so super train is where you end the train early and not on the frame that it's supposed to end. So we can see if the runners are going to do this as they both decide to go for inside the homies here.
Indeed, we've seen in previous runs from myself and Stop Jesse that if you're going to go for Hug the Homies, it is very dangerous and you can even clip through
Ooh.
the train. Ooh, a nice little desktop fidget toy.
Well, let's
Love
go. And this is why Soda has the camera on. I'll tell you that right now. Just to do it. I like that, honestly. So, and what is this
And
from
we got a nice little
Pokeball from
desktop.
Spyron?
Oh, I've seen stuff like that. The little terrariums in the Pokeball. I love those things. Those
They're
are
so nice,
amazing.
man.
I'd love to pick one up at a convention at some point.
It's as we got Soda hyperventilating into a bag here. I understand that the nerves are probably going crazy for both runners right now. If any of them are paying attention to the stream, or if Spyron doesn't have us muted, right? Then honestly, I can tell you that the nerves are probably there because they do not. You can see the pressure and they don't want to give up. And as Spyron's killing off
Hey!
the baby,
That's right. This man is going to be a father. He has just recently let us know that he is going to be a father of a little bouncing baby boy. So congrats to him on that, for sure.
I'm super excited for him. Don't tell him, but I'm getting him a gift and sending it. I'm buying him a gift from over there, sending it to him.
That's amazing. I'm sure he'll love finding that out when he edits the VOD later to put on YouTube.
I gotta get you one too, man. Don't sleep on our co-commentary here is also having a kid. So
That is true. Just real quick, we also found out yesterday. Spyron and I found out on the same day, basically. My wife and I are going to be having a little girl. So now it is a speed run. It is a speed run to see who has their baby first.
and honestly, I bet both runners of that category really want to pop that thing out. But we're gonna see them attempt to both start for Super Train here. It is a frame perfect thing to do here. So you have to get it at the right time and hope that the lizard stops spawning for you. There is a certain order to do this. You're going to see both of them go for it. I honestly think both of them are going to get a frame perfect, as Soda's a little bit late on the last lizard, but is still going to get a frame perfect. So yes, they are losing time here from what they normally run, but honestly, you can't ask for something better in a race environment. As we come up to the Gauntlet, honestly, put the splits on stream for the Gauntlet real quick. This is where runs come to die right here. If you made it past the first parts, the first levels, this is where all the skips are. As we get Spyron with a perfect zip through for the cutscene.
Soda not getting that.
And Soda looking for it, but honestly not lined up as lizards start to come in on him. He's gonna try the zip, but he's gonna get caught up in the lizards and gets it on the second try. And honestly, you think this is the easy part, but this is where the hard part and the fun part begins of running this race. As we see Spyron go for normal hidden switches here. No Fetty switches, just a little bit of normal hidden switches.
That's right. And this is where a lot of our you know, over 30-minute runners typically end their runs as well. Sometimes they can eat the issue with falling in the first few levels or not getting the right skip and having to restart it. But Tunnel Crawl here, because of how long it takes to get through these tunnels, especially if you die once or twice, this is the major reset point for folks like me, at least.
Yeah, as my chat says, this is where runs come to live or die. This is what makes you a man, is right here. This is what grows you up into an adult. As Soda not getting the right zips is going to have to go for a longer one on the back end here if he does get perfect zips. As Spyron's starting to line up for Tunnel Crawl skip. Deceivingly hard. If you haven't watched Spyron's tutorial, it's deceivingly hard. Getting some small zips is going to have to crawl this as Spyron is lined up and locked in. Gets the skip, flies in to the load zone. Soda's through from getting the small zip on the end there. And man, this is going to be a race. Are we going to see a Fetty fall from Spyron? And Soda juking us out with the old one. We already know what was going to happen there.
All right, Spyron is going for that Fetty fall, and he's all lined up. I think it's, yep,
and it's
foregone conclusion. There it is.
And honestly, he's going into Spyron. Spyron's home turf is this maze right here with this fantastical zipping ability that you're about to see. These roof zips are nothing to scoff at. These are very hard to do, and him doing them no look is crazy. As Soda opts not to go for the Fetty fall, says it's a little bit too dangerous for his position that he's in, so he's gonna, just hit the puzzle normally right here.
No, and that's fine, but he will need to do some fancy footwork to catch up at this point, as Spyron is now most certainly at least a level ahead, which I am going to go ahead
and put him in the lead.
Yep.
I will say that you were correct about Soda needing to do some fancy footwork here. That's what he's going to need to do to pull it off. I do think that he is opting to not look just like Spyron. The main thing is that it is very hard to get the zips in general, so just getting them without looking is insane, as Spyron's going to see how good his luck really is when it comes to this RNG as we get to probably the run killer of all run killer boss fights here, Venom 2.
Indeed, this fight is harder than it looks, especially on harder difficulties, because Venom can be absolutely unkind, especially if you're going in for combo strats on him. He can interrupt your combo with just a swipe of his hand and knock out a significant portion of your health. It's less likely that that'll happen on easy, but they should still watch out for those random spawns.
Man, and Spyron getting unlucky with 3 spawns all the way across from him. At least they're not on the roof, and he gets to finish this out as we see Soda going, and he gets 1 spawn from across the way. Opts for web balls. We're going to see if that's going to come into play here later. Ooh, another spawn across the way. I do think that this is where we're going to see how far they really are away from each other, as Spyron is going to attempt one of the funnest skips in the game, in my opinion.
Oh, no.
Which is the Bugle. Oh, wow.
That's an extra cycle for Soda with Venom and in a bad spot.
Well, that's what doing 2 web balls in a row really does, but he does fill that up. So it's usually supposed to be either 1 web ball cycle in 2 combos or 3 combos in general. So Soda is a little bit behind, and he has been struggling with the skip in races, if you haven't seen, as Spyron goes for the big leap of faith here and hits it perfectly. Couldn't ask for a better jump into the load zone.
Indeed, a lot of our racers taking the safer strat of landing on the 3rd floor instead of the 4th, or I'm sorry, landing on the 4th floor instead of the 3rd floor. Spyron takes
Ooh,
the riskier
going under
strat.
presses. He's going under presses. This man is not holding anything back. This is one of the hardest skips in the game if you're not used to it. And ooh, good readjust from Spider-Man there, honestly. As Soda's, you're gonna see Soda do this probably the same thing. If he's tuned in, he's got to just keep up with Spyron at this point as we get into Bugle Basement, Soda's favorite level and one of the levels that everyone has been struggling with in this tournament.
Indeed. Now, I believe Spyron's been learning some of the backups for this skip to make sure that he's still staying competitive, but it looks like he might not need that at all, as here he
As he,
goes. And
ooh,
that is a one try Bugle Basement. That is a lot harder than it looks, especially that first clip out of bounds. That
definitely.
is amazing. Just clear testament to the skill of our runners.
Of course, as Soda comes through with that adjustment zip and stop the presses, which is insane, as you're going to see first-person shooter mode strats from Spyron here. And Soda with the YOLO basement strats, I do love this. This is how I do it. No lineups required, as Soda's going to hit Bugle. Ooh. And that's why this is his favorite level, because that was beautiful.
But he's got to do a
Oh,
little bit of lineup to jump around, and there he goes.
better safe than sorry. As Spyron's leaving Mysterio, Soda's coming into Mysterio. This is going to be a very tight race. It might all come down to the win cycle, as we've said for probably the past 4 races. And someone may have that comic. I have no idea, but someone may
Not a,
just have that comic.
not a single clue. Not a single clue. Uh, but yeah, it makes sense that this has really come down to that one cycle lock multiple times because in our last few races we have had the absolute cream of the crop as far as runners going against each other. So it really was going to come down to one cycle lock
And there was
deciding
Warehouse.
races.
There was Warehouse, which it's just man, you got to say for our top level runners here, Warehouse is not a problem, right? So you gotta love that.
We
As
absolutely do.
Soda's leaving Mysterio and going into Warehouse as Spyron has just left Mysterio and it's about a quarter of the way through lasers. This is one of those things of you just saw the skip on Spyron's screen. It's a very hard lineup. What are you thinking about the race so far, Chuck? I know we're getting and narrowing the end of these levels, right? What are you thinking here?
Well, I am thinking that the gap has widened significantly uh, due to some poor luck on Soda's part and a few safety strats. Still showing fantastic work from both of these for sure, but that gap widening at this point, this is exactly what I was talking about when I said that the latter half of this race is what's really going to decide things. I still think it's anyone's race until we finish Doc Ock off, but it is now looking a little clearer who's going to be ahead.
Right. And honestly, these final stretch of levels, it's like you real and especially in a race environment going up against top level players, you can't really hold back. Those safety strats are kind of holding Soda back here. But I will say that hindsight 2020, right? Not going into this, you probably are thinking, hey, safer is better, right? Until the other person's hitting all of these crazy skips. And Spyron doesn't get a crash this time as we're leaving Stop the Fog. Um, it honestly, if Spyron misses one cycle but Soda hits it, then he's right back in this game.
Absolutely. Although, with stopping the fog and its long cutscene, uh, it could even be that one cycle lock may not be enough for Soda to gain that lead. But I guess we'll just find out when we get there, especially with that unfortunate zip on the bottom of the bridge.
Yeah, it's all gonna come down to raw movement and skill as we get some no look swings and a zip from Soda. Didn't even know you could zip there, to be honest. Um, I will say this, that no matter what, these runs are perfect. I can't really fault the fact that, some of this movement isn't as crisp as it could be, just because I know that this is like, even though this is a peak level environment, right? This is with 2 runners in their prime. You kind of have to put it out the whole bag. You know what I mean? You have to have that backpack, pull out the whole bag of skips to be able to gain even an inch in these races. So I'm happy to
Yeah.
see that Soda is entering in Doc Ock. We will see Spyron if he's going to live or die to this one cycle. as we come in here, hits the target. That jump may have messed him up. I don't. Ooh,
That's the
that
one
was
cycle from
close.
Spyron.
That was super close. And we're gonna see if he's got new Carnage tech, which is what I was about to say about Soda, having this Carnage tech in his back pocket. But yeah, Spyron is in the lead right now at Carnage, and that's where you want to be in this situation. You want to be out in front. As Spyron takes the safety strats for Carnage, going back to what he knows, full 5 web cartridges. I mean, honestly, this is a sight to behold here. He's on pace.
But we don't want to jinx it just yet. However, I will say, both of these guys putting on a fantastic show. If you go and watch their PBs in world records on speedrun.com, it's not going to look much different than what you're seeing on the screen. You are absolutely in for a fantastic treat watching this race here.
Definitely. As we get Soto with the early button press here, he looks lined up. We shall see. And that is a great web dome. Inspiring leaving Carnage right now as Soda is walking up to him. Yes, I've been reading chat, so I'm not going to say what I was going to say there. But honestly, this race has been fantastic. What Soda is hoping for here is that Spyron is the 6th player to ever glitch out of Monster Hog. As Soda goes for the new Carnage strats here. Honestly, this has been a great race. I don't want to call it yet, right? But we got one runner in Monster Rock, right? And we have one on Carnage. So really, it's Spyron's race to lose here.
Absolutely. I mean, we haven't seen the fall through on Monster Rock in quite a while in this race or in this tournament alone. But as you said, only 5 people have fallen through the floor in Monster Rock, and it's not super likely that that's going to happen now. But there's always a chance. So we'll just have to see where exactly this last level leaves our 2 runners. But if all goes well, it's very clear that Spyron is going to run away with this race. So for those of you who bet on him, I bet you're feeling pretty confident here at the moment.
I will say that for a race, I am pretty sure that this is a 28 from one and a 29 from the other. For a race, if they keep running consistently, right? If this is a consistent all the way through, I will say for a race environment, that is nuts. We're not taking any prisoners on this race.
Absolutely. If Spyron gets that sub 29, that will make him the fastest racer of this tournament so far. He will have the best race time of the tournament so far because even Nilo has just a sub 30 here at the moment. Our current best racer.
I will say it's insane to always see the top level of movement and prep, like being prepared, right? This is a clean 28 from Spyron. He's got to be feeling happy about this, as Soda's rounding about a quarter of a way through Monster Rock right now. Yeah, and as commenters are pointing out, he can't go out of bounds anymore. As a 28.09 from Spyron, is that what I think it is?
Let me see.
Is that what I think it is? That is a world record, ladies and gentlemen.
That is a world record.
We have our...
That is a world record by nearly 30 seconds.
That is a world record from our world record holder, beating his record by an entire 30 seconds. This man is cracked right now. Man. I didn't think we were going to see one. And this man just decided to pull out the world record in the middle of racing one of his hardest opponents.
That's man, wild. You know what? Even if Spyron doesn't take it against Nilo in the next race, that is a badge of honor that he's going to get to wear and just absolutely ride that feeling throughout the rest of this tournament, if not carry it into whatever the next one is. And that's a 29.03.